Mistress mocks pregnant ex-wife for marrying a beggar, but he's secretly a millionaire. In a crowded cafe brimming with animated chatter and clinking cups, a single interaction planted the seed of an unexpected fate. Samantha, known for her gentle heart and optimism, believed she had found love in a man named Philip, someone everyone else dismissed as penniless. Monica, a shrewd onlooker with an appetite for wealth, mocked Samantha for choosing a beggar. Little did anyone realize that beneath Philip's humble exterior lay a secret fortune that would turn all assumptions upside down. As hearts, hopes, and hidden agendas collide, the stage is set for betrayals and revelations that not even the most calculating mind could predict. Samantha Millfield grew up in a modest neighborhood outside Boston, in a small suburban home where warmth and laughter trumped any desire for luxury. Her parents, both teachers, instilled in her the values of empathy, patience, and unwavering kindness. She was the type who would share her lunch if a classmate forgot theirs, who offered her seat on the bus to anyone elderly. She had big dreams, but an even bigger heart. When she graduated from Northeastern University, Samantha moved to New York City in search of opportunities, maybe in publishing or non-profit work. She envisioned a life where she could make a difference for others, even if it wasn't financially lucrative. Reality quickly set in as she navigated the city's high cost of living. She took a mid-level job at an educational nonprofit, living in a tiny studio in Queens. Her days were long, but she felt fulfilled helping underprivileged children with reading programs and mentorship. It was on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon, stepping out of the subway at Times Square, that she first encountered Philip. He sat on the sidewalk, an old guitar cradled in his arms. His clothes were worn, but not tattered. A simple, faded jacket, frayed jeans, and scuffed sneakers. Samantha noticed he wasn't exactly busking like other street performers. There was no open guitar case for money, no sign asking for help. He was simply strumming soft melodies, lost in thought, as if playing for his own comfort. Intrigued, Samantha paused. She sensed an unspoken sadness in him, something that beckoned her to say hello. "That's beautiful music," she said gently. He looked up, startled, revealing soft brown eyes that sparkled with intelligence. He smiled, a bit shy. "Thank you," he murmured. They struck up a brief conversation, only to be interrupted by the chaos of rush-hour pedestrians. Before parting, Samantha pressed a small bill into his hand, more out of kindness than pity. Philip immediately tried to refuse, insisting, "I'm not begging," but she insisted just as firmly. "Then use it for coffee," she said, smiling before hurrying off, the city swallowing them both back into its tide. The moment lingered in Samantha's mind. Something about Philip's demeanor, the gentleness in his voice, the sincerity in his thanks, stayed with her. Over the next week, she found her thoughts drifting back to that quiet guitarist. One evening she returned to the same spot in Times Square. Philip was there again, playing softly, lost in his own world. This time, she didn't just hurry past. She sat next to him on the curb, ignoring the strange looks from tourists. They chatted about music, about books. He mentioned a love for old classics, referencing Dickens and Steinbeck. She shared her dream of writing children's stories someday. He wasn't a conventional beggar by any means. More curious, she noted the meticulous cleanliness of his nails and the intriguing vocabulary he used. Something about him felt hidden, as though he was quietly observing the world rather than desperately surviving in it. Over the following weeks, Samantha realized she had found a friend, maybe even a soulmate. Little did she know, the man she believed to be at rock bottom was actually perched on a secret that would one day turn her world and another woman's scorn entirely on its head. While Samantha's growing bond with Philip revolved around gentle conversation and blossoming emotional warmth, Monica Shaw's interest in Philip was fueled by entirely different reasons. Monica was a striking figure with commanding presence, high cheekbones, manicured nails, and a style sense that combined designer labels with a flair for the dramatic. Raised in a wealthy environment, she found it easy to slip into circles where people thrived on extravagance. She met Philip at a high-profile charity auction hosted by the Metropolitan Museum of Art, something Samantha was entirely unaware of at the time. Monica attended that event not because she cared about the charitable cause it was rumored to be about, funding after-school arts programs, but because it was an excuse to mingle with the city's wealthy elite. She never would have expected that the quiet man in a simple suit, standing near a sculpture of an Egyptian sphinx, was anything but a typical socialite. They struck up conversation, Monica initially drawn to the aura of mystery around him. She had a nose for men who could offer luxury, and something about him felt different. To her frustration, this Philip seemed uninterested in flaunting wealth or bragging about business. Yet he didn't seem intimidated by the glitz either. He was cordial, well-spoken, and skilled at deflecting personal questions. Monica's curiosity piqued. Men of means often boasted about their achievements. This one guarded them. She left that evening uncertain of who exactly Philip was, but sure she wanted to find out. Over the next few weeks, through discreet channels, Monica discovered that Philip occasionally showed up on the city's philanthropic rosters under a private trust's name. She noted appearances that weren't consistent, some events he attended, others he vanished from. Rumor suggested he might be connected to a large fortune, but no one had concrete proof. Intrigued, Monica resolved to pry deeper. One afternoon she followed him discreetly, or so she believed after a brief philanthropic lunch at the Plaza Hotel. She trailed him downtown, expecting him to step into a private car or retreat to a lavish condo. Instead, she watched in bafflement as he walked into a shabby alley near Times Square and paused outside a run-down building. Then, to her utter shock, she saw him playing guitar on the sidewalk as if he were destitute. The scene was so bizarre, she nearly laughed out loud. She couldn't fathom a reason for a presumably wealthy man to pose as a beggar unless he was conning people. A swirl of fascination and scorn consumed her. If he was wealthy, why stoop to this level? Was it some eccentric game, a fetish for living dual lives, or had she miscalculated and he was actually poor, using philanthropic events to rub shoulders with the rich, hoping for a big break? Before she could puzzle it out, Monica noticed a young woman, apparently ordinary and sweet-faced, approaching Philip with a look of genuine affection. They chatted amiably, the woman handing him something wrapped in a napkin, maybe food. He looked at her with such warm gratitude that Monica felt a tinge of envy flash. Or was it disgust at the spectacle of a woman coddling a possible street musician? In that moment, Monica pinned Samantha's face in her memory. She might not have known Samantha's name or background yet, but something about the scene spurred her to follow up. A budding sense of competition, a desire to unravel the truth, took hold. She left that alley with a sneer. If Philip was actually a nobody, she'd confirm it. If, on the other hand, he was a somebody, she intended to find out how to leverage that knowledge to her advantage and to keep any naive do-gooder woman from snagging him first. Within weeks, Samantha and Philip's bond deepened. They shared slow Sunday mornings strolling along the Hudson River, sipping cheap coffee and laughing about the quirks of city life. On rainy afternoons, they'd hide in quiet corners of the public library, reading passages from classic novels to each other. She found in him a sense of calm that no city hustle could disturb. One evening, he escorted her home with his guitar slung over his shoulder. Rain drizzled down, glistening on the sidewalk under the neon glow of convenience store signs. Samantha invited him in for tea. Sitting in her cramped but cozy living room, they chatted about everything: her dream of writing children's books, his view that music could soothe even the most troubled hearts. She asked him about his family, his past. He deflected with vague answers, explaining only that he'd lost his parents young and spent time traveling. He expressed gratitude for living day by day, no illusions. The reticence piqued her curiosity, but she respected his boundaries, grateful for whatever he revealed. Despite the question marks about his background, Samantha found herself falling in love. It wasn't about money or status things she'd never craved anyway. She cherished his kindness, how he listened intently, how he gave thoughtful insights, and above all, how he refused to take advantage of her generosity. He never asked for money. He even insisted on paying for her meal once after saving up from occasional music gigs. She felt no shame in his presence, just acceptance. Then came a stormy night that changed everything. Samantha's non-profit job had cut funding, leaving her position uncertain. Feeling dejected, she wandered Times Square in search of Philip, hoping for his comforting presence. She found him near the steps of the TKTS booth, drenched in rain, stubbornly strumming a gentle tune. Without hesitating, she rushed to him, tears mingling with raindrops. Her voice cracked as she confided her fears about losing her job. Philip set aside his guitar, pulling her in for a tight hug. "You won't lose anything," he whispered, voice steady. "And even if you do, we'll figure it out together." Overwhelmed, Samantha leaned against his chest, feeling safe despite the downpour. She realized she needed him more than she'd ever admitted. In a sudden rush of emotion, she blurted out, "Marry me, Philip. Let's build a life together, no matter how crazy it seems." He froze, searching her eyes. Thunder rumbled overhead. She worried she'd asked too abruptly, that he might run. But then his face softened into a tender smile. "I'd be honored," he replied simply. She melted into his arms, heart soaring. They decided on a simple courthouse wedding, an intimate affair with just a few friends from her non-profit. Philip had no family to invite, apparently. Samantha wore a modest floral dress, while he donned a borrowed suit that fit oddly, but looked charming nonetheless. She used the tiny savings she had for a small reception at a local diner, and in that humble moment, with no rings more than cheap silver bands, they became husband and wife. Little did Samantha know that beyond the joyous bubble of love, a swirl of drama brewed. Monica, with her suspicious curiosity and cunning edge, had tracked their wedding plans. She sneered at the notion that this sweet girl would marry a beggar. But behind her mocking grin hid a plan to discover the truth about Philip's finances and exploit it to her gain. Love, for her, was never the end goal. Fortune and power were. The storm had only just begun. On a crisp morning, just days after the wedding, Samantha hummed happily in the small kitchen of their new shared apartment. Their place was modest, one bedroom, a kitchenette that barely fit two people at once, and squeaky floors that revealed every footstep. Yet for her, it felt like a mansion of warmth and hope. She prepared breakfast, scrambled eggs and toast, while Philip was out picking up a few groceries. Her phone buzzed, displaying an unknown number. "Confused," she answered. The voice on the other end was decidedly smug. "Hello, Samantha, is it?" The caller introduced herself as Monica Shaw, claiming to be an acquaintance of Philip's. Samantha's stomach tightened at the woman's condescending tone. "I understand you just married him," Monica drawled, "though I must say, I'm surprised." Samantha tried to keep her voice steady. "Yes, we had a small wedding. Have we met?" A cold chuckle emanated through the line. "Not officially, dear, but I've seen enough to know he isn't exactly the man you think. Let's just say he's hardly in a position to provide for you, unless, of course, you enjoy scraping pennies." Heat rose to Samantha's cheeks. "We managed just fine," she retorted, stung but unwilling to show it. "Philip and I don't measure love by bank accounts." Monica's laughter grated. "How quaint," she purred. "Well, if you want to waste your life playing house with a beggar, that's your choice. But I'd check my illusions at the door if I were you. Some men can't help but spin lies, especially when they have little else to offer. Before Samantha could form a response, Monica ended the call. She stood there, phone in hand, heart pounding. Who was this woman, and how did she know Philip? The words beggar and spinning lies bounced around her head. Could it be that Philip had an ex or an admirer who couldn't handle his new marriage? She tried to shake off the uneasy feeling that threatened to mar her happiness. Philip returned soon after, arms full of groceries. She considered confronting him about Monica's call, but something held her back, fear, perhaps of appearing insecure or paranoid. She chose not to mention it yet. However, she couldn't fully hide her disquiet. Philip noticed her subdued demeanor, but she sidestepped his questions with a smile, attributing it to job worries. Meanwhile, Monica reveled in her own petty triumph. She had delivered a warning shot, a taste of the scorn she held. In truth, her animosity was fueled by discovering something extraordinary: official documents connecting Philip Lennox, a name he used on philanthropic rosters, to a secret trust worth millions. She'd uncovered enough to suspect that Philip's entire beggar routine might be an elaborate facade. She planned to keep pressing, to see whether she could manipulate the situation, perhaps ensuring that if he truly was wealthy, she'd be the one to benefit, not Samantha. In her eyes, Samantha was just a naive girl who'd latched onto a worthless man. Her mocking phone call was only the first step. If Philip actually had money, Monica intended to pry it loose from him, using every trick at her disposal. But she had no idea that her arrogance might soon trigger karmic consequences far beyond her control. As the weeks slipped by, Samantha juggled her uncertain job situation while maintaining a hopeful outlook on her new marriage. Philip continued to strum his guitar in public spaces, occasionally earning tips from passers-by. She found it odd that he never pressed for more stable work. Whenever she brought it up, he'd smile and say, "Music is all I need right now," or "Don't worry, I'm saving for something special." Meanwhile, Monica's shadow loomed. Unbeknownst to Samantha, rumors began swirling among philanthropic circles that a mysterious investor had been quietly funneling large sums into real estate and tech ventures. Some speculated about a hidden billionaire in the city, but no one could pin down a face or name. Monica's own private snooping led her to confirm what she suspected. Philip possessed massive wealth, stashed in a labyrinth of trusts and shell companies. He had orchestrated a persona of near destitution for reasons that still mystified her. One afternoon, Monica cornered him outside a small cafe near Bryant Park. He was seated at an outdoor table reading a newspaper. She sauntered up in a designer trench coat, exuding confidence. "Hiding out again, are we?" she teased. He looked up, surprised and cautious. He recognized her from philanthropic events, but hadn't expected her to approach him so boldly on the street. She slid into the chair across from him, ignoring any protest. "I know your secret, Philip," she said, her voice dripping with insinuation. "This beggar act, it's quite a show. But the trust funds, the hush property deals, you can't fool me. So how about you be honest? Why the charade?" His face remained impassive, but a flicker of tension flashed in his eyes. "You seem misinformed," he said coolly. "I have no idea what you're talking about." Monica smirked, leaning forward. "I'm hardly misinformed. I've done my homework. My question is, why marry that naive little non-profit girl if you're truly loaded? Is it some social experiment, or do you enjoy playing the pauper in front of her?" Philip's jaw clenched. A swirl of anger and anxiety brewed in him, but he stifled the reaction. "My personal life is none of your concern," he stated firmly, rising to leave. But Monica grabbed his wrist lightly, halting him. "Make it my concern," she pressed. "I can keep your secret or expose it. Imagine what Samantha would think if she found out you've been lying all along." Would she still see you as her saintly, lovable husband? He froze, torn between the desire to walk away and the necessity to contain the threat. Monica read the conflict on his face. "Let's talk again soon," she purred, releasing him. "I have big plans. You might want me as an ally rather than an enemy." She strolled away, her heels clicking on the sidewalk, leaving Philip rattled. Over the next few days, he wrestled with the consequences of his charade. He had withheld the truth from Samantha, wanting to find genuine love untainted by money. But now Monica's intrusion threatened everything. He dreaded the moment Samantha might learn of his wealth from someone else, particularly someone as manipulative as Monica. Meanwhile, Monica's scorn for Samantha only intensified. She viewed the wife as an obstacle, an innocent creature, clueless about the staggering fortune at stake. Monica's next move, she decided, was to strike where it hurt the most, by sowing doubt in Samantha's heart. If Samantha suspected Philip was deceiving her, the marriage might crack, opening a path for Monica to orchestrate her advantage. Or so she believed. Samantha's life turned more stressful when her non-profit position was officially cut due to budget constraints. She received the news via a curt email. "We regret to inform you that, due to insufficient funding, your role as program coordinator is terminated effective immediately." Devastated, she returned home early, tears welling up in her eyes. She found Philip in their living room tuning his guitar. When she told him, he wrapped her in a comforting hug, whispering that they'd weather this storm. She appreciated his optimism, but a knot of anxiety twisted inside her. They had no substantial savings, at least, not that she knew of. She worried about rent, daily expenses, the future. By nightfall, restlessness consumed her. She lay awake in bed, listening to Philip's soft snores, haunted by Monica's mocking phone call. The woman's words about scraping pennies gnawed at her. The next morning, just as Samantha attempted to gather her bearings, the doorbell rang. She opened it to a delivery person holding a large gift box. The label read, "From Monica Shaw." Baffled, Samantha accepted it. Once alone, she opened the box to reveal a luxurious designer dress from Louis Vuitton, accompanied by a snide note, "For the wife of a beggar, you might need something nice. Enjoy, M." Samantha's hands shook, anger and humiliation flooding her. She tore the note to shreds, then stuffed the dress back into the box, refusing to let tears fall. She confronted Philip that evening. "Who is Monica Shaw, and why is she sending me offensive gifts?" she demanded, holding the box in front of him. He looked startled, recognizing the name. He scrambled for an explanation. "She's someone I met at some philanthropic events. She must have misunderstood our situation." Samantha glared, frustration evident. "Misunderstood? She calls you a beggar and me a fool for marrying you. Why would she do that? Are you in contact with her?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "She's been prying into my personal business. I don't want to involve you, but trust me, she's not a friend. She's trying to cause trouble." A flash of betrayal sparked in Samantha's eyes. "So there is personal business with her. Something you aren't telling me," she said quietly. "I need you to be honest, Philip. If there's more to your story than you've shared, now's the time." Philip hesitated, torn between revealing his secret fortune and fear it would shatter the sincerity of their bond. He looked at her, eyes pleading. "I promise you, I'm not having an affair. I have no interest in Monica. It's complicated. Please trust me. Trust me." The phrase hit Samantha like a blow. She wanted to trust him. She loved him. But the tension rose as his unwillingness to share details stoked her insecurities. She insisted he return the dress, but the damage was done. Monica's mockery had planted a seed of doubt, making Samantha question if Philip was indeed hiding something monumental. In the days that followed, Samantha's mood dimmed. She questioned if she'd been naive, if the beggar label had truth in it, or if there was some deeper deception at play. Meanwhile, Monica observed from afar, relishing the discord she had sown. She planned her next move meticulously, convinced that unveiling the magnitude of Philip's hidden wealth would not only shock Samantha, but also open opportunities for Monica to profit. She was oblivious, however, to the possibility that her cruel meddling might awaken a cosmic sense of justice, one that spares no one when it delivers karma's final blow. It happened on a sun-drenched afternoon at a bustling cafe in Soho, where Samantha was meeting an old friend for moral support. She settled at an outdoor table, sipping iced tea, trying to mask her worries about joblessness and marital tensions. Her friend Claire offered sympathetic words, but Samantha's mind remained restless. Suddenly, a figure approached their table, Monica Shaw, sporting designer sunglasses and a smug grin. Claire gave Samantha a questioning look, but Samantha's heart sank. She braced for an unpleasant exchange. Monica took off her sunglasses and stared directly at Samantha. "I have something you need to see," she said, offering a manila envelope. Samantha hesitated, but curiosity outweighed caution. She opened the envelope to find documents detailing ownership shares in multiple real estate projects, plus stakes in a technology firm. Each was linked to a trust under the name Philip A. L. Lennox. The amounts were staggering millions of dollars in assets. Samantha's stomach twisted in disbelief. She recognized Philip's scrawled signature on some forms, though he used a different last name. She shook her head, feeling like the ground beneath her was shifting. Monica's voice cut through the stunned silence. "Surprise, dear. Your beggar husband is actually a millionaire. Perhaps even a billionaire, though it's hidden behind layers of trusts. Betty forgot to mention that." Samantha's eyes burned with a mix of anger, betrayal, and confusion. "Why would he hide this from me?" she asked in a shaky whisper. Monica shrugged with mock sympathy. "You tell me. Maybe he loves playing the poor musician. Maybe he wanted to test your devotion. Or maybe he's just a liar. But now you know. Do with it what you will." Claire, outraged, rose from her seat. "How dare you just barge in here?" Monica raised a hand dismissively. "Relax. I'm doing her a favor. She deserves the truth. After all, isn't honesty what marriage is about?" Her smirk conveyed anything but concern. She turned and sauntered away, leaving Samantha grappling with the avalanche of revelations. For a moment, the cafe's noise faded into a dull roar. Samantha's hands trembled as she flipped through the documents again. The sums were real, the addresses legitimate, the trust details undeniable. She felt a sudden rush of conflicting emotions, hurt that Philip withheld such a massive secret, anger at his deception, relief that they weren't truly impoverished, confusion over why he'd choose to live modestly. Her head spun. Claire gently touched her arm. "Sam, maybe there's a reason he didn't tell you. You said he hated people who only valued money, right?" Samantha nodded, tears brimming. "But how could he marry me without telling me? We share vows, a life. This changes everything." Late that afternoon, she confronted Philip. Waving the documents in front of him, she demanded an explanation. He'd just returned from strumming at the park, guitar still in hand. His face went pale the moment he saw the manila envelope. With a shaky exhale, he admitted the truth. He was indeed the beneficiary of a vast family fortune, but he'd grown disenchanted by how wealth corrupted relationships. He'd chosen to experience life as an ordinary man, searching for genuine connections. He insisted his love for her was real, uncontaminated by the typical gold digger scenarios he'd endured before. However, Samantha, still raw from betrayal, snapped back. "Don't you think I had a right to know? We made promises. I worried about rent, about losing my job, while all along you had millions. You let me stress about everything." His eyes clouded with regret. "I was afraid that if I told you, you'd never know if my wealth changed how you felt. I needed real love, Sam, not the fleeting devotion money can buy." His words stung, half making sense, half enraging her further. She stepped away, tears threatening. "And you let me face that woman's scorn, endure financial struggles, all while you had the power to fix it. She shook her head, voice trembling. I don't know if I can forgive this. She fled the apartment, ignoring his pleas to talk more. As she roamed the city streets, she felt a chaotic swirl of heartbreak, confusion, and a strange sense of relief. Everything had changed. She was married to a secret millionaire, and the mistress who once laughed at her for marrying a beggar had actually forced the truth out. The question now was what path she'd choose in light of this revelation, and how karma might next manifest its presence in the story. In the aftermath of the explosive revelation, Samantha sought refuge with her friend Claire, crashing on a pull-out couch in a cramped apartment in Brooklyn. She refused to answer Philip's calls or respond to his texts. Nights were restless. Her mind replayed every tender moment they shared, now tainted by the knowledge of his hidden wealth. She felt betrayed and foolish, recalling all the times she worried about money and job stability, while he quietly held the means to alleviate every concern. Philip, for his part, was beside himself with regret. He roamed the city, guitar in tow, unable to concentrate on anything else. He avoided philanthropic events, aware that Monica might be lurking with her smug grin, hoping to corner him into discussing possible alliances. He left voice messages for Samantha daily, apologizing, explaining the fear that drove him to secrecy. But her silence confirmed the gulf between them had grown. Monica, meanwhile, reveled in the chaos. She visited Philip's building one afternoon, unannounced, only to find him absent. She discovered from neighbors that Samantha had moved out. Satisfied that her meddling had triggered a serious rift, she plotted her next move, approach Philip with an enticing proposition. If he wanted to keep his fortune discreet, maybe she could help, for a price. She fantasized about how she might become the influential woman at his side, controlling the money if Samantha was out of the picture. Eventually, Philip mustered the courage to speak face-to-face with Samantha. He stationed himself outside Claire's apartment, waiting for hours until Samantha emerged. She glared at him but reluctantly allowed him to walk with her. They strolled in tense silence along a quiet street, passing graffiti, splashed walls and corner bodegas. Finally, Samantha broke the ice. "I deserve more than your fear as an excuse," she said, voice weary. "You lied to me, day after day, while we built a life of illusions." He exhaled, shoulders sagging. "You're right, I messed up, but I never wanted you to suffer. I was terrified you'd see me differently if you knew about my fortune. I've been burned before. People loved me for my money, not me. You were the first to see me as I truly am." She softened at his words, but refused to let her anger go. "That's still no justification for deceiving me. A marriage is built on trust. You broke that." "I know," he murmured, pain etched on his face. "But please, let me fix it. Let me prove that everything we share is real, that I'll be honest from now on. I'll do anything." She paused, tears brimming. Part of her longed to embrace him, to return to the life of simple moments they shared. But doubts lingered. "I need time," she finally said, stepping back. "I can't just forget you kept me in the dark." He nodded, eyes cast downward. "Take all the time you need, I'll wait. I love you." Without another word, he turned, leaving her with conflicting emotions swirling in her heart. As Samantha watched him go, she realized that while the truth had come to light, it cast an even darker shadow over their relationship. Their tenuous separation left them both in limbo, uncertain if love could mend the chasm or if the betrayal was too deep to overcome. And watching from the sidelines, Monica bided her time, certain she could manipulate the fallout to her advantage, unaware that karma rarely spares those who thrive on another's misery. Not long after Samantha asked for time to think, Philip found himself cornered by Monica yet again. This time, it was outside a glitzy charity reception at the Waldorf Astoria, one he attended to handle some trust-related obligations. He'd hoped to slip in and out unnoticed, but Monica, ever the opportunist, intercepted him in the lobby. She wore an evening gown that shimmered in the overhead chandeliers, exuding a haughty confidence. "Fancy seeing you here, Philip," she purred. "I hear your wife moved out. Tragic, isn't it?" He clenched his jaw, determined to ignore her, but she blocked his path, an imperious glint in her eyes. "I have a proposition," she announced, ignoring his scowl. "You've gone to great lengths to hide your wealth. The cat's out of the bag now, at least with Samantha, but the rest of the world is still largely ignorant. I can help keep it that way." She paused, letting him absorb her words. "If you play nice," she continued, leaning closer, "we can craft an arrangement. You maintain your facade for the general public. I assist with certain philanthropic deals. Ensure no messy headlines. In return, you support some of my personal ventures. A little financial backing never hurt, right?" Revulsion knotted Philip's stomach. He saw her scheme. She wanted to be a gatekeeper to his secrecy, effectively blackmailing him for personal gain. "I'm not for sale," he retorted, voice taut. "Nor is my fortune. Get out of my way." She let out a short laugh. "Don't be naive. You're cornered. Your wife's left you. The woman who discovered your secret doesn't trust you, and the philanthropic world is already whispering about you thanks to me. One unguarded moment, and tabloids might find out the beggar is actually a wealthy recluse. Imagine the scandal, so think carefully before refusing." His hands tightened into fists. A swirl of rage and desperation threatened to erupt. He realized how precarious his situation was. Monica had proven she'd stoop to any level. Still, the idea of caving to her demands felt abhorrent. "What do you want, exactly?" he finally asked in a low tone, searching for a way to diffuse the threat. Monica shrugged, her smile cool. "Let's just say I have business opportunities that need capital. You invest quietly. You keep your wealthy identity under wraps, if that's still your obsession. I keep your secrets safe. We both get what we want." His gaze hardened. "Your blackmail might silence me, but it won't change how my wife feels, and that's all I care about." She rolled her eyes. "Your marriage is on the rocks, sweetheart. You're better off thinking about what's next. I can help you salvage your reputation, or I can leak details to the press. You do the math." With that parting shot, she stepped away, melding into the elegant crowd. Philip stood rooted, seething inwardly. She dangled a trap, pay her off, let her exploit his resources, or risk a humiliating public exposure. The predicament weighed heavily, especially with Samantha still estranged. Torn between fighting back and protecting his financial anonymity, he knew only one truth: Monica's meddling had to end. But how? Quietly, he left the reception, shoulders heavy with the burden of secrets and emotional turmoil. He realized the lie that once shielded him from opportunists had now become his biggest liability, and the woman who initially mocked Samantha for marrying a beggar was now threatening both their futures. Still, he sensed that karma, like a silent storm, was gathering momentum, preparing to sweep Monica in its path eventually. While Philip grappled with Monica's coercive plans, Samantha immersed herself in a search for a new job. She needed focus, something to anchor her mind instead of spiraling into heartbreak. She took temporary gigs tutoring, freelance editing, babysitting, anything to stay afloat. Though she still wore her wedding band, she avoided discussing her marriage with acquaintances, aware that the entire tale sounded like a soap opera. Her friend Claire encouraged her to reapproach Philip, pointing out that he'd come clean eventually, albeit under external pressure. "Maybe he truly loves you," Claire reasoned, "and only lied out of fear. Could you see yourself forgiving him?" Samantha wavered. Love still glowed in her chest whenever she thought of Philip, his gentle smile, the sincerity in his gaze. Yet the wound of betrayal stung. She questioned whether a foundation built on partial truth could be mended. Late one evening, After a draining day, she scrolled through old photos on her phone, pictures of them laughing at a local carnival, dancing awkwardly in her tiny living room. A pang of longing shot through her. That night, she dreamed of him, recalling the sense of safety in his arms. 2 days later, she mustered the courage to call him. His joy at hearing her voice was palpable. They agreed to meet at their favorite quiet cafe near the East River. Sitting across from each other, the silence was heavy, each lost in thought. Finally, Samantha spoke, her voice calm but firm. "I've had time to reflect," she said. "I understand why you feared disclosing your fortune, but I can't ignore how it made me feel like an outsider in my own marriage." Philip nodded, heartbreak evident. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm willing to do anything to regain your trust. I can show you the accounts, the properties, let you be part of every decision. Just don't walk away from us." She looked into his eyes, seeing genuine remorse. "We'll try," she responded softly. "But it has to be on terms of absolute honesty now. No more secrets. We face everything together." Relief flooded his face. They held hands, a cautious sense of hope blooming. He confided about Monica's blackmail attempt, admitting the turmoil she'd caused. Samantha's jaw tightened in anger. "She's the one who gloated about me marrying a beggar, then turned around and used your hidden fortune to torment you. That's monstrous." He sighed, nodding. "I can't let her manipulate me or us. If the world finds out about my wealth, so be it. I just want to live freely with you." Samantha's eyes glistened. "Then we stand together," she said, "no matter what Monica tries." They left the cafe, hand in hand, a renewed determination binding them. They decided to move back in together, Samantha returning to their modest apartment, while they planned a future less shadowed by secrets. However, in their hearts, they knew Monica wouldn't go quietly. As if on cue, a text from an unknown number pinged Samantha's phone that night. "I see you two are patching things up. Enjoy it while it lasts." But as Samantha and Philip prepared to face the next wave of meddling, they also sensed a shift. Love, honesty, and unity would be their armor. And as for Monica's scornful laughter, well, karma always had a way of striking back harder than expected, especially when the deception one sows becomes the seeds of their own downfall. 5 months had passed since Samantha first learned Philip's secret fortune. In that time, they'd grown closer than ever, forging a deeper trust by sharing every detail of his finances and background. She discovered that he'd inherited wealth from a grand uncle, used discreetly to invest in philanthropic initiatives. He'd tested life as a humble musician to escape the emptiness he saw in shallow social circles. Now, with Samantha at his side, he decided it was time to come clean publicly. They planned a vow renewal ceremony on their first wedding anniversary, a small gathering at a scenic lookout in Central Park under a canopy of flowers. Friends from Samantha's old non-profit, a few of Philip's philanthropic contacts, and even some street musician pals were invited. The couple intended to use the event to declare their love anew, with no illusions. Word quietly spread that Philip might reveal something significant about his background. Unsurprisingly, Monica caught wind. She had spent months awaiting an opportunity to force Philip's hand, but her attempts at blackmail had lost traction. He ignored her demands, and she lacked direct evidence to publicly shame him. Furious, she decided to crash the vow renewal. She reasoned that if the wedding was the stage for his big confession, she could steal the spotlight, sow humiliation, or perhaps salvage a piece of the action for herself. On the day of the ceremony, the park glowed in the warm afternoon light. Samantha wore a simple white lace dress, while Philip donned an elegant, tailored suit that nodded to his newfound openness about wealth. Guests gathered in a semicircle, and an officiant read heartfelt passages about second chances and honesty. Samantha and Philip exchanged fresh vows, tears glistening in their eyes. They pledged to share not just joys, but also burdens, to never hide behind fear again. Just as applause rang out, Monica stepped forward, clapping slowly, her face painted with derision. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Samantha's spine stiffened, and Philip's jaw tightened. The officiant looked confused, while onlookers whispered. Monica smirked. "Beautiful speech," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Now, how about telling them all that you've been lying all along, living as a beggar while hoarding millions?" A hush fell. Samantha squared her shoulders, stepping up next to Philip, who calmly addressed the crowd. "It's true I kept my wealth hidden," he began, voice steady. "I was jaded by how money seemed to overshadow sincerity. Samantha married me without any knowledge of my fortune. She loved me for me. And now I want the world to know that I no longer fear revealing my resources. We plan to use them for good, to support the charitable causes we believe in. This is my wife, Samantha. She's not a gold digger or a fool. She's my partner in every sense." Monica let out a sharp laugh. Oh, how touching. And what of the months of deceit, of letting her struggle financially? She glared at Samantha. "You're so proud to be with a liar?" Samantha raised her chin, capturing the crowd's attention. "Yes, there was deceit, and it hurt, but we overcame it. Real love can forgive, as long as there's genuine remorse and transparency. We're using what we've learned to do better." She paused, locking eyes with Monica. "If you're here to embarrass us, you're wasting your time. We stand united," the crowd murmured, some stepping closer in support. Monica's smirk faltered, the confrontation not going as she hoped. She tried a last barb. "Don't be naive. He might betray you again." Samantha looked at Philip, who gently squeezed her hand. "Maybe so," Samantha replied softly, "but I choose to believe in redemption." A wave of hush overcame the guests, touched by the sincerity of the moment. Caught off guard, Monica found no further lines to maintain the upper hand. The crowd's support for the couple was palpable, and her petty jabs felt hollow. Seething with frustration, she turned on her heel and stormed away, the vow renewal continuing as onlookers clapped for the newly reaffirmed couple. Little did Monica realize that her desperate attempt at sabotage would soon boomerang back, culminating in a karmic blow that left her reeling. After the vow renewal, Samantha and Philip experienced a renewed sense of unity. Media outlets caught wind of Philip's belated revelation, branding him a philanthropic heir with a Robin Hood spirit for living incognito among the city's less fortunate. Some admired his motives, while others criticized the deception. Nevertheless, public consensus leaned in favor of the couple's heartfelt story of tested love. Their next step was to launch a foundation for education support, merging Samantha's non-profit passion with Philip's resources. As for Monica, the vow renewal fiasco left her fuming. She had hoped to either break them up or coerce Philip into some arrangement. Instead, she found herself ridiculed for gate-crashing a private ceremony. Even the philanthropic crowd, previously her social playground, grew wary of her drama. No one wanted to be associated with her brand of manipulative theatrics. Desperate to regain control, she threatened to leak more dirt on Philip, claiming she had insider knowledge of shady deals. But the philanthropic community had turned the spotlight on her, curious how she obtained privileged data. That scrutiny revealed Monica's questionable methods of hacking or bribing informants to gather intel. Fearing legal repercussions, her allies started distancing themselves. In a final, ill-conceived move, Monica approached a prominent tabloid with her expose, slandering both Samantha and Philip. She alleged Philip was exploiting tax loopholes to hoard money, The tabloid hesitated, given the lack of evidence and the philanthropic trust's transparent records. Meanwhile, an trace discovered Monica had illegally accessed private emails. She found herself under investigation for cybercrimes. The threat pivoted swiftly from Monica, exposing secrets to Monica herself, being exposed as a potential criminal hacker. Word of Monica's predicament spread among her once glamorous circles. Invitations vanished, brand deals she aspired to vanished, and soon creditors started calling. She had banked on climbing the social ladder through manipulation, but now faced lawsuits and tarnished reputations. Karma, indeed, had come knocking, delivering a blow that left her financially and socially ostracized. The mistress who once mocked Samantha for marrying a beggar was now left with tarnished credibility, no supportive allies, and looming legal trouble. When Samantha learned of Monica's downfall through a mutual acquaintance, she couldn't muster glee, only a poignant sadness at how far bitterness and greed could lead someone astray. Philip, too, regarded the news with a resigned sigh. "I never wished for her ruin," he admitted to Samantha. But it seems her own actions sparked this outcome. The couple pressed on with their new foundation, stepping into public roles as co-founders. They held hands at the ribbon-cutting ceremony of a scholarship program, flanked by children who would benefit from the educational grants. Cameras clicked, and for the first time, Samantha felt truly comfortable in the limelight, no longer a naive girl in an uncertain marriage. She'd faced deception, heartbreak, and self-doubt, emerging stronger by forging trust anew. As they gazed at each other in that celebratory moment, they acknowledged how adversity had shaped them, quietly thankful that their love had triumphed. And for Monica, left on the outside with no further leverage, the taste of her own medicine was bitter. She had laughed at the wife for marrying a beggar, not realizing the beggar was a hidden millionaire. Now, she was the scorned figure, paying the ultimate price for her manipulations. That final twist of fate served as a testament. One can attempt to weaponize money and lies, but the universe sometimes corrects the scales more dramatically than anyone envisions. Within a year of the vow renewal, Samantha and Philip's life settled into a beautiful rhythm. Freed from secrecy, Philip no longer pretended to be a street musician out of necessity. He still played guitar in public, sometimes this time as a genuine expression of his soul, not a camouflage. He also engaged actively in the philanthropic foundation he and Samantha built, focusing on scholarships, after-school programs, and youth music initiatives. Samantha managed daily operations, fulfilling her passion for helping children and communities, but with the comforting knowledge that financial constraints wouldn't hamper their mission. The scandal around Monica fizzled into a cautionary tale. Some rumored she fled the city, possibly to avoid legal entanglements from her hacking allegations. Others claimed she tried her manipulations in another state, with little success. Regardless, her presence vanished from their lives. The hush left behind felt like a balm, allowing Samantha and Philip to flourish without a storm of meddling. They occasionally reminisced about the bizarre journey that started with a passing kindness on the street. Samantha would recall how she once handed him a few dollars for coffee, believing him to be a struggling guitarist. He'd tease her about that day, reminding her that her compassion was the spark that melted his jaded heart. They'd laugh, thankful for fate's twisted sense of humor. In time, Samantha discovered her own voice as a children's writer. She published a small book of illustrated stories, each tale echoing themes of generosity, humility, and the courage to see beyond appearances. The book's modest success warmed her heart, made possible in part by the supportive environment they'd created together. Meanwhile, Philip found a sense of peace he'd never experienced in the posh circles of the wealthy. Embracing his real identity publicly, yet living simply by choice, gave him the authenticity he craved. On a sunny day, they decided to revisit the bench where Samantha had first proposed marriage in the rain. This time, they brought a thermos of hot cocoa, content to watch the city swirl around them. She nestled against his shoulder, recalling that thunderous evening when she impulsively asked him to be her husband. So many twists had happened since then: unexpected heartbreak, hidden fortunes, and betrayal from an embittered mistress. But in the end, they found their way back to each other, stronger than before. "Do you regret any of it?" Philip murmured. She shook her head, exhaling softly. "No. Every mistake taught us something. And if we ended up here with a better understanding of ourselves and each other, maybe it was worth it." He pressed a tender kiss to her temple. "I agree," he said quietly. "Sometimes the storms bring clarity you can't find in calm weather." They watched a few street musicians performing across the way, reminding them of their earliest bond. Samantha smiled, closing her eyes in gratitude. Life was far from perfect, but it brimmed with love, honesty, and a shared mission to do good. And maybe that was the best kind of wealth one could ever have: an abundance of heart, unwavering devotion, and the wisdom to see beyond mere appearances. Thank you for journeying through Samantha and Philip's dramatic story, where a random act of kindness led to an unexpected marriage, a hidden fortune, and a masterclass in learning to love and trust again. We witness Monica's scornful laughter morph into Karma's swift retribution, proving once more that greed and manipulation rarely pay off. Despite heartbreak and deception, Samantha and Philip emerged stronger, forging an unbreakable bond that transcended the trappings of wealth or status. If you enjoyed this tale of twists, revelations, and the ultimate triumph of sincerity, please like this video, share it with someone who appreciates a hearty dose of drama, and subscribe to our channel for more captivating stories of betrayal, redemption, and the power of unwavering love. Your support helps us continue bringing you the tales that inspire, caution, and remind us all that authenticity always wins in the end. Thank you for watching.